Do you sometimes buy fabric before knowing exactly what you're going to do with it? Well, that's what happened when I bought these fun fabrics a while ago. And they've just been sitting in my Christmas stock for way too long. And today I'm going to draft something that they can be made out of. Hi, I'm Christina, and I love to digitally apparel pattern, creating unique pieces of wearable art. And I'm super excited to be drafting something fun today that these will fit out of. I've been thinking about what I want to make with them for quite some time, but I'm also limited. I only have about a yard of the red and a little bit under a yard of the white, and there's some spottages that I'm going to have to be working around. But I got them on a really great deal. So I've been thinking about it for quite some time, and I think I'm going to make like a little fun capelet, a super short one. It's not going to be very long. It'll only go, to maybe right above the waist, maybe even a little bit higher, depending on how the fabric layout goes. So I am super excited to go ahead and start drafting this in CLO3D and kind of just draft and see how it looks on a 3D avatar. If you enjoy watching videos on how to digitally apparel pattern, make sure you like and subscribe so that you can see more videos in the future. I'm going to bring up CLO now. Here we go. So I don't actually need the 3D window quite yet. So I can either go down here and change to just my 2D. Whoops, that was just the 3D. Or what I also like to sometimes do, so I can still kind of see what's going on, is just shrink one size. I do love how easily you can manipulate the windows in CLO3D. So the next thing I'm going to start is I'm actually just going to start drafting what I think I'm going to want. So I'm going to start here. Oops, click, cancel, because I'm on rectangle and I want to be on polygon. So I'm going to click and drag, and we're going to go 11 inches. We're going to hit OK. And I did not start low enough. So actually we're going to start over again, and we're going to click, and we're going to go 11. That is looking much better. Then we're going to give it a nice curve. And I think I'm going to start with going maybe 16 inches, roughly. We're going to, once we get it all kind of drafted out and everything, we'll put it on the form and then even it out as best we can. I always find that it's so quick and easy to create the thing, sew it together, and then you can kind of fine tune so quick and easily. And we're going to continue and complete that shape. Then we're just going to grab it and give it a nice little curve, like so. Awesome. Then we're going to draft the back. And the best way, I think I'm going to draft the opposite side of a back. So we're going to get my polygon tool again. And we're going to start here, and we're going to go up. We're going to go up 12 inches this time. And then we're going to go around, give it a nice little curve. We're going to go out 16 inches and back there and give it a curve. Like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and actually move that down so that I have my front half here and my back half here. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Everybody kind of likes to maneuver stuff and place stuff differently within CLO. So it's just one of those things that you kind of have to kind of start and get used to. So the next thing I also need to draft is my hood. So we are going to start with a rectangle. And I'm going to go ahead and start with a rectangle that is, we'll do 16 by 19. That's going to be a nice big floppy rectangle. Then to draft a hood, you always have like all these different points and everything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually draw some internal lines. Split that, come down here and get a nice internal curve going on. I like it. Then I'm going to give myself a couple of guidelines. We're going to go up 2.5. Can double check it right there. And then we're going to split that in half just to give me kind of a reference line. Because sometimes having those reference lines are really helpful, because then it's like a guideline. It'll tell you right when you're hitting that half and where you kind of want to be. Especially when you're hand drafting, you commonly will hit that, like give yourselves little hash marks or something to give yourself a guide of where you know you want to be. So that's kind of what that is doing. So then we're just going to draft a line. We're going to give it a little bit of a curve and a little bit of a curve. And let's look at that. That looks a little harsh. So let's change that up just a little bit. Not like that. Let me grab just the dot. There we go. So we're going to pull that in just a little bit and change that angle just a little bit. Yeah, I like that a lot better. So then we're going to go ahead and cut these away. We're going to highlight both of them and cut it away. And we don't need those pieces at all, so I'm just going to delete them. They're going to be gone, and I'm going to be happy. Before I do anything else, I do want to know where the halfway point on this line is. So right now this is at 16,313. So 16,313 divided by 2 is 8.115. So what I think I'm going to do, because I could move this length. Actually, I'm going to try that first. I think it'll do what I want it to do. So I want to change the length, and I want to change it to 8.1565167, round it up. We're going to hit OK. I changed it a little bit, but I'm still pretty happy with. Pull that in. Maybe, whoops. Control Z. Is my friend, is my friend, is my friend. There we go. That's a little bit smoother. I like that. That hood looks to be quite huge. We will probably be shrinking that hood down just a little bit. Although I do love big floppy hoods. They just make me really happy. So I might leave it just like that. Then what we need to do, right now we have half of all our patterns. So we have half of our hood, we have half of our center front, we have half of our back. So we actually now need to create the other half of the pattern. So we're just going to go ahead and do a symmetric pattern with sewing on all of these. And I'm going to give myself just a little bit of space there. I don't need to do it for the back, I guess. Whoops. Clicked the wrong one. I want it with sewing. I'll move that over because I'll be adding something later. Yeah, because I want to cut it away. So for the center front, I do want to add like a placket of buttons. And but before I do that, I'm actually going to do a quick little fitting and kind of get stuff moving around the avatar so I can kind of make sure everything is working before I add that in. So now what we have to do is we actually need to get our 3D window a little bit bigger, and we need to start placing our patterns around. Now, because these patterns are kind of long and wide, using the blue dots sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work. We can give it a shot and see kind of what it, whoops, don't want to do that. We want to move them down. So let's see if we can get it there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make those guys go flat instead of curved. And it's still kind of on that. No, it's kind of on an angle. But I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. So we'll call that as good. And we're going to do the same for the back pieces. So we're going to flatten them out. And we're going to straighten that out. There we go. That's better. I might do that for the front too, so that they're a little bit more flat and not working against each other so much. Perfect. Then I'm going to grab you and we're going to raise you up out of the way. I'm going to raise you up and out of the way. And the other thing I am going to make, I'm going to keep them all flat. Whoops, wrong one. Curved to flat. We're going to keep them all flat. That way it's just kind of all the same all the way around. At times you want stuff curved and flat. It just really depends. This one's such a simple pattern. I'm not super worried about it. So now I'm going to turn off my dots now that I have them. And we're going to start sewing. First thing we're going to do is we're going to sew our center backs together. Then we're going to sew our side seams. I am going to sew the center front so that I know that it makes sure that it stays on. And then I'm going to free sew my center front to that halfway mark and then the halfway mark to the back. And I always like to make sure that the stitch lines are looking right and they're not twisted, because if they're twisted, it's going to do weird and funky things and nobody's going to like that. So I always make sure that the sewing is looking accurate and you're going to be happy with it, or else you'll have to redo it, which is not a huge deal. And then the last one I'm going to do is we're going to stitch around the hood like so. Awesome. So I have her ready. She is ready to get sewn together and stitched. So let's pull that off just a little bit. Let me go ahead and collapse you down so I got a little bit more room, and let's take a look and see what happens. There we go. We got her. Yes, her hood is quite floppy. And as it looks fairly even with her arms out, I'm pretty sure if I dropped her arms a little bit, let's go ahead and change up her pose to one with her arms down. Yes, that is a little bit longer than what I want it to be for sure. It's probably like 2 inches too long. I think I'm going to start with that and see where we want to go. I also might want to raise the front and lower the back just a hint. That way it's a little bit of a high-low, but we're going to do one thing at a time. So we're going to first change the length of this, and we're going to go down to 14, and we want it to go at the end, and we're going to hit OK. And there it goes. And then we want to change that angle, pop it out just a little bit. We're going to do the same with this. We're going to change length to 14 at the end. And we're going to change that angle. We're going to re-render. So it's looking better. I think I want to drop the back just a little bit, and I want to raise the front just a little bit. So we're going to start with a whole inch and see. I'm going to curve that just a little bit more to lengthen that there. Yeah. And then let's get, so this is 12. Let's go up to 13 in the back. And again, I'm going to fix this, and we're going to pull that just a little bit more so that it has a little bit more fullness right there. Yes. I am liking what I am seeing as a base for my little capelet with hood. Ooh, I'm so excited how this is actually starting to come together. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm definitely going to want to, I think, bring the fullness of that hood down a little bit. I think for sure I'm going to want to do that because that is a little excessively floppy. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to start by lowering that down, keeping that in plane. Distance moved. Yeah, we'll go 2 inches. Yeah. We'll start with that. And then I also want to bring it in the back just a little bit, which means this is not going to be exactly half. So we'll have to deal with that in a minute. Yeah, and we'll do 1.5. Okay, let's re-render that. That's looking a little bit better for sure. It's still nice and floppy. I don't want to go like too crazy unfloppy, but I do want it still floppy. So I'm liking that. So I think I'm going to leave it as is like that. Yeah. So the next thing I want to do, let me stop rendering so my computer doesn't spin up for days on end. I need to add my little trim. So I'm going to, I think I like this kind of as the finished length. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically pull away. So I'm going to do an internal line at 2.5. That sounds like a good one. Like so. And I'm going to do that all the way around. Internal line, 2.5. Internal line, 2.5. And then we're just going to go ahead and this top one we can cut and sew because we'll be sewing that together. But these other ones, I'm actually going to just cut them. I don't want to sew them back together because of the fabric I'm actually going to be using. I need cut. Because my fabric has a pattern on it that's totally on the side, I don't want to actually cut a shaped pattern out of this because I want to follow with the pattern that's already there. So I'm going to have these be rectangles, not curved pieces. So what I'm going to do, can I just get those guys? Yes. Whoops, I had them and dropped them. I'm going to go ahead and pull them off and delete them so that they are no longer my concern. Then we're going to actually draft my rectangles that we'll need. So that is 15, 6, 9, 6. So we're going to do a 16, 6, 9, 6 by 2.5. And that's that. And I'm going to double check that because now I am, yep, 15 and 16. Okay, so we're going to move you in 1 inch. I love how easy it is to change that. Makes it so nice. And this one's 15,406. So we're going to draft a rectangle, 15,406, 2.5. Hit OK. Oops, wrong button. Gotta change to the correct tool. And then we're just going to go ahead and do symmetric pattern. Symmetric pattern like so. And the other thing I want to add, well, before I add that, I'm actually going to sew this together. So we're going to sew you to you. And we're going to sew you to you. And then we're going to go ahead and superimpose sides. Sometimes that gets a little cranky. Sometimes it works out perfectly. And it's looking like it is liking it today. So then we're going to grab these back two. And we're going to move them to the back first. Oh, Cool. So because I moved them, we now need to also rotate them. There we go. So now they're not twisted. They should be good. We're going to superimpose side and superimpose. Whoops, I think I clicked under, not side. There we go. Yes. So that is looking good. And so we got that done. We can do a quick little sew together. Looking good. I still need to actually sew the side seams. I did not do that or the center backs. So let's go ahead and do that real fast before I forget. And we're going to go like that. Give it a test. Looks good. And now we can go through and we're going to delete the center front. We're going to delete that center front seam right now. Because what we're going to do is we're actually going to be drafting a new rectangle so that we can have a center front placket with buttons. I am going to double check my length because I know I changed it and I don't remember what it is. So it's basically 7.5 plus 2.5. So 8, 9, 10. So we're going to draft a rectangle that is 1 by 10. And we're going to do a symmetric with sewing. And then we are going to give it buttons. Now I'm probably just going to use snaps on mine, but I am going to put buttons on it. So we'll make it work. So I'm going to go over here and grab my button tool. And we're just going to start. We're going to place, whoop. Ooh, did I not do those at all well? But, you know, I just needed to get my 5 buttons on there. We're going to align them center. And then we're going to distribute them vertically. Okay. Beautiful. Look at how perfectly I put those buttons on. Gotta love computers. Then we're going to convert to buttonhole on symmetric pattern, just like so. And now that I have those buttonholes on there, we will need to actually superimpose them. Do I? So we're going to grab those, tell them what buttonhole they're going to go to so that they know. Then we need to actually give me some space. So let's reset 3D. Is it really that low? It might have been. I was worried about that. So what I'm actually going to do is, I'm going to highlight it here. We're going to pull it out this way and pull it out forward. And we're going to do the same with the other one. I'm just doing this so that I have the space to put my buttonholes in, or my these guys in there. Just kind of one of those things that you want to make sure that there's space, because if there's not space and the seaming's kind of going interconnected, because it's digital, it can kind of get wonky. So you always want to make sure that your stitch lines aren't going through other things and you're adding the space where it needs to go. So we're going to go ahead and actually we're going to do segment, and we're going to sew well, it doesn't matter right now, but we'll want buttonholes on one side, and then got one, and then we're going to get the other one, like so. Then we want to make sure that we're actually placing this. So we want to move that to the back, And we want to get that nice and close superimposed. So we're going to pull it that way. And I think I can get it moved pretty darn close, just like that, without going back through, because then my buttons should theoretically go through the holes and still be seen on top. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. I'm still trying to get the buttons to work the way I want them to work. So let's give it a try. As you saw, it had a little bit of a funky do right there because the seam was a little twisted because of how I did it, but the buttons looks like they worked out just right, and I am liking how this is. So let's actually take a look and get everything into some colors so that we can actually see. So we're going to move in here and we're going to add a fabric, and the first fabric we're going to change its color. We'll go to a red, and then we're going to keep the other one white, and all the details, we're going to apply them white. Ah! Look at how cute she's looking. Oops, I'm not rendering yet. Let's go ahead and render her. Woo! Look at how cute she looks. Oh, I'm so happy. I think she has turned out super cute. Yep. And I think the hood, I think I'm liking the hood now. It's still quite floppy. I will need to readjust the stitching because there's more stitching in the front than there is in the back. So right now we're just going to leave it at that. Oh my goodness, I am super excited to get this pattern printed out. Well, I'm actually going to project it, but I'm excited to get this put into Illustrator, and then we're going to project it out and make it, and it's going to turn out super cute and super cuddly and cozy because I got some nice soft fabric for it to become. I am so excited. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe so that you can see other fun ways to digitally apparel pattern in CLO and Illustrator, as well as make some amazing pieces of wearable art. I look forward to seeing you guys in some of my other videos. Happy patterning!